were partners, remember? As he plugged in the drive into the computer, Amina watched his expression change from one of determination to shock. This is huge, he muttered. Just then, the door burst open. A group of armed men stormed in, led by a figure Amina never expected to see. Inspector Mwangi, the real Mwangi. The man at the computer smirked, taking off his glasses and the face cap, his features changing completely as he stood up. Did you really think you could outsmart the syndicate, Amina? Amina's heart sank. The man whom she trusted was an imposter, a plant by the syndicate all along. The real Mwangi, her partner, had been tied and gagged, struggling to get away from the captors. The imposter laughed again. You've been a very useful pawn, but your time is up. Amina's heart raced. She had to act quickly. With a swift motion, she knocked over the desk, scattering the papers and the flash drive. The imposter lunged for her, but she dodged, grabbing the real Mwangi's gun from the holster. Shots were fired. Chaos erupted in the office, everyone scrambling for safety. Amina fired at the armed men, her training kicking in immediately as she aimed with precision. The imposter tried to flee, but she shot him in the leg, bringing him down, and then shooting every other armed man who had come into the precinct. As the dust settled, Amina hurried to free the real Mwangi. Are you alright? She asked, her voice filled with concern. Mwangi nodded. He was tired and in pain, his eyes full of gratitude. Thanks to you, I am fine. We need to get out of here. They will be back. Amina and Mwangi emerged from the station into the night, breathless and shaking. Amina knew they needed a new plan. But first, she needed to see Kofi. So she hotwired the car nearest to her and they drove straight to Kofi's house. Upon getting there, they found an injured Kofi who had been beaten almost to a pulp. His security men were beaten and shot as well. Kofi whispered to Amina as she tried to lift him up from the floor. We have to go underground, Kofi said. I know someone who can help us. Amina nodded, trusting him. They navigated through the maze of Nairobi's back streets until they reached a small, nondescript building. Kofi knocked in a coded pattern and the door opened wide to reveal an older woman. Come in, she said, ushering them inside. You're safe here. As they settled in, the woman introduced herself as Mama Zola, a former journalist who had turned activist with deep connections in the underworld. She asked for the flash drive, but when Amina put her hand to bring out the flash drive, she was shocked by what she saw. It was damaged, apparently from the fight that had happened at the police station. She was heartbroken, her expression giving sadness and disappointment. Mama Zola retrieved the damaged hard drive from Amina, examining it closely. She smiled and said to Amina, "This drive isn't completely useless. There's a hidden partition with encrypted files. If we can crack it, we just might find the evidence we're looking for." Amina, Mwangi and Kofi looked at each other and smiled, hope flitting in the air. Amina and Mama Zola worked tirelessly day and night to decrypt the files, while Kofi and Wangi received treatment upstairs by Mama Zola's personal doctor. Minutes turned to hours, and hours turned to days and weeks. Finally, Mama Zola screamed, "I've got it!" The files contained records of the syndicate operations implicating high-ranking officials and international players. It was a breakthrough that they needed. But just as they prepared to move forward, the door burst open. The imposter stood there, flanked by armed men behind him, his face twisted with rage, his leg bandaged from the gunshot wound Amina had inflicted on him. "Did you really think you could hide from me?" he snarled, cocking his gun. In that moment, Mama Zola stepped forward, calm, smiling. "Actually, did you really think you could get away with this?" To everyone's shock, the imposter's men turned their guns on him. "What is this?" he shouted, panic in his eyes. Mama Zola smiled. "You see, the syndicate isn't just your playground. You overstepped your bounds and now you are finished." As the imposter was taken away, Amina realized the depths of Mama Zola's influence. She had been working undercover, trying to get to the root of the syndicate, and within the hours and days that she and Amina tried to work together, she was able to get to the root of the problem, trying to fight corruption from within the system itself. With the evidence in Mama Zola and Amina's hands, they contacted trustworthy members of the law enforcement. Wangi and Kofi, now recovered, joined them in planning the takedown of the syndicates. In a coordinated effort, they launched raids all around Nairobi, arresting key members of the syndicate and seizing all their assets. The city buzzed with news of the massive crackdown on crime. As the dust settled, Amina stood on the steps of the precinct where she worked, looking out over the city she had fought so hard to protect. Wangi approached her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We did it, Amina. We brought them down," he said, a proud smile on his face. She nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "We did it, but there's still a lot of work to be done." Wangi laughed. "There always is. But with people like you, Amina, there's hope for justice." As they turned to re-enter the precinct, Kofi appeared. His injuries had healed, but his eyes still looking haunted by the events that had happened. He approached Amina, his expression softening. "Amina, thank you. Thank you for believing in me and risking everything you had," he said to her, his voice filled with gratitude. She smiled, reaching out to take his hand. "We're in this together, Kofi, and together we'll keep fighting for what is right." Over the next few months, Kofi and Amina spent more time together, often meeting to discuss ongoing cases and the aftermath of their victory against the syndicate. One evening, as they strolled along the banks of Nairobi River, the city lights reflecting off the water, Kofi took Amina's hand. "Amina, I never thought I'd find someone like you, someone who believes in me and fights for justice with so much passion." She smiled at him, squeezing his hand. Kofi stopped walking and turned his face to Amina. "Amina, I want to be by your side, not just as a friend, but as someone who loves you." Her heart swelled with emotion. She smiled shyly. "I feel the same way too, Kofi. I love you." Under the soft glow of the city lights, they shared their very first kiss together, a promise of a future. And as months turned into years, Amina and Kofi's bond grew stronger. They continued to fight for justice in Nairobi, their love giving them the strength to fight any challenge. And in the heart of the city they loved, they built a life together, proving that even in the shadows, love and justice would always shine through brightly. The end.